This is the sort of flow that you'll be able to do time and time again. So I hope you enjoy this. I hope you feel better for it afterwards. Let me know in the comments, but for now, let's get started. We're going to start with a wrist sequence. Begin in a kneeling position. If this is uncomfortable, you can just sit on your bum and use your hands to assist the stretches. So if you're kneeling, let's have fingertips towards the knees, heels of the hands pressed away. Grip down through the top pads of the fingers. The closer your hands are, or further around the sides of your body, the less you're going to feel loading through the wrists. So if they are feeling particularly tight, you might find bringing them further back feels better for you. Otherwise they can come out in front, or you can walk them away. All you're going to do is just little rocks, side to side, forwards and back. Find any areas that feel tight. And if you're not in the kneeling position and you're doing this seated, you can just use one hand to stretch the other wrist back into extension and just work through side to side, alternating. As we're moving into the wrists, breathe in and out of your nose. Become aware of your breathing. We're going to go for some wrist peels. So for this, we're just going to allow the elbows to bend, lift the heels of the hands away from the mat, and then press them back down again. So elbows are bending, we're lifting, and then pressing away. Let's take a little rest there from extension and flip it around into flexion. So we're now going on to the backs of the wrists. If you're seated, not kneeling, you're going to hold onto the back of your hand and then pull the fingers down to stretch here. If you are kneeling, backs of the hands go onto the ground and you just do gentle rocks forwards and back. This one can feel quite intense. I'd recommend keeping the hands close to you, and then you can gradually work them further away. Over time, you can start to apply more load into these positions. Whilst you're holding that stretch, you can either stay where you are, it might feel enough. Otherwise, you can have a little go at curling the fingers in and then back out. Keeping the arms straight. If you're struggling to straighten your arms, and at the moment, they're a bit more here, have a little go at turning the armpits of the elbows forwards. It's a rotation at the shoulder, and that will help the arms straighten. And then you can go for those little rocks. Let's release, make some circles. Just rotate, rolling around one way, then the other way. You can also wiggle through the fingers, get some heat into those intrinsic muscles in the hands. If you've got lots of tension into your wrists and you struggle with flexibility in your wrists, that will show up in other areas of the body, like the shoulders. Maybe when you're performing a certain movement in the gym, for example, maybe you're struggling to straighten the arms overhead or straighten the elbows. So perhaps the wrists are super tight and it might be an area that you need to work into a little bit more regularly, maybe just as a bit of movement prep before your training, as an example. Shake them out. We're going to go hands down onto the ground, fingertips facing forward. Just a little test, see if you can activate the strength within your hands by lifting up the fingers one at a time. So lifting the thumbs and lowering the thumbs, lifting the index fingers and then lowering them back down. Middle finger and lower, ring finger, lower, baby finger and lower. And then just go back all the way in again. The further you bring your shoulders on top of the wrist, the harder that's going to feel. As you load that position more, you're going to require more strength to lift those fingers. So this is one you could even just do at your desk if you find that you're sat at a desk for a long time. Just get your fingers to move. Work into the wrists as well. Build some strength into the hands. You can obviously start to challenge this by lifting the fingers and holding them for longer. Build more strength in those end ranges. Okay, leave it from there, just shake them out. We're going to do a couple more things for the wrist just for some strength. So fingertips forwards again. The further forward you lean, the harder this will be again, so you can be right back here, and you're just raising the heels of the hands up and down. As the shoulders come on top or even lean over the wrist, that's going to get heavier. You'll get a good pump into the forearms. Go for about 10 reps, just lifting and lowering. Once you've done 10 there, we're going onto the backs of the hands. Fingertips face each other. We're going to bend into the elbows and then press all the way up onto the knuckles, closing the fists at the top. Coming back down again. As you come up, think about pressing the backs of the hands into the ground, the backs of the fingers, the tips of the fingers, and then curl in and close up at the top. Go for 10 repetitions, down and up. You can go slower than I am right now. It doesn't have to be fast. Take your time, just get through 10. Once you've done 10 here, we're going back to palms down, fingers forward. 10 more reps, lifting up and lowering. The further forward you lean, the more load you're going to feel, the harder that's going to feel. Obviously, you can work towards being able to do this sort of thing in a plank position, which is super tough. So I would start tabletop, start further back, and then work your way forward. Once you've done 10 here again, let's go back to the backs of the hands, one more set, down and up. Give your hands a little shake out from there. We're actually going to move next into the neck. So you can do this in a seated position, standing position, anywhere that feels more comfortable for your body. We're going to gently squeeze the fists and bring the hands by the sides of the body. This is just going to help us to isolate the neck. If we generate some tension by just gently squeezing them to stop us trying to compensate elsewhere in the body. Wherever you are, gentle squeeze through the fists, bring your chin to your chest. Then across to one shoulder, looking over it. Keep your jaw closed just lightly. We're going to lift the chin up. All the way across to the other side. And back down. Now reverse and go back. Lift the chin up. And back down. And keep going. Just notice if your body is like moving side to side to try and help with that movement of the neck, and really try your best to isolate it. Anywhere you're feeling extra tension, you can hold it for a bit longer. Do what feels good for you. Once more each way. And release. That's a great one to do if you've been stuck at a desk for a long time. We're also going to move our neck more like a neck with some different movements here. So we'll start by looking down over one shoulder and then up over the other. Just go for that 5 times through. Looking down, looking over. You can still squeeze the fist here as well, just lightly. Then let's do the other. So looking over or down over one shoulder and then up over the other, 5 times. So if you're getting a lot of tension into your upper body, to your upper back, neck, shoulders, ask yourself, how often do you actually move your neck like a neck? We're going to go ear to shoulder now and back to the center, 5 times on one side. And as you go across the side that's stretching, make sure you're really drawing that arm down and away so it doesn't just lift up with the stretch like this. Draw the hand towards the ground and then stretch across. And let's go 5 the other side. And from here, we'll go chin to chest and then looking up. So looking down and up 5 times. And release. We're going to do some circles now, thinking about the spine as like an axis and you move around it. So gently squeeze the fists and you're just going around the spine. You might get some little clicks and crunches. You can change direction. If you're struggling to coordinate this, bring your index fingers either side of your chin, just slightly out in front, go across to one, forwards, across to the other and back. And then you're trying to make it more of a circular motion. You might have to practice this one a little bit in the mirror. So keep going around, notice if the shoulders are trying to move for the neck instead, try and keep them still. Change direction. And then release, we'll go for a stretch. One hand goes behind the back, hold onto that hand with the other, and then stretch the neck across. So if you've got left arm behind your back, then you're stretching the left side of the neck. If your right arm is behind your back, you're stretching the right side of your neck. You can move the head down, you can move it up. Find anywhere that feels tight. And then switch. And release. Moving into the shoulders, we're going to go for our shoulder cars, which is controlled articular rotations. And we're going to start by coming into a half kneeling position. Bring one leg up in front. The side that's open, that's going to be our moving arm. The other side, where the knee is in front, we're going to squeeze that hand and bring it down. So if you see from this angle, this hand's by the side, squeezing the fist. This side's our moving side. So lock the ribs down and squeeze your glutes. We're trying to block the hips and really isolate the shoulder. Let's take the arm up, bicep towards the ear. If this feels really tight and you struggle by taking your arms overhead, then take them out wider. You don't have to be up here to start. You might begin out here somewhere. We're keeping the arms straight. Once you get to the top, turn the palm to face out and start to take the arm behind you. And as the arm goes behind you, you keep rotating that shoulder inward, so you'll finish with the back of the hand at the hip. We'll then reverse it. We go back here to shoulder extension, lifting as high as you can before you then rotate the thumb, coming back up, bicep towards the ear or wherever you are, forwards and down. That's one rep. We're going to keep going. So the arm comes up, ribs are down, glutes are on, turn the palm out, take the arm behind you and keep rotating that shoulder inward until you get the back of your hand to your hip. And now reverse, take it back, rotate the thumb up, bring the arm up, forwards and down. Carry on this side, take the arm up, bicep towards the ear, ribs down, make sure you're not arching to lift it. Palm turns out, rotate back of the hand to the hip and then reverse, take it back, rotate the thumb up, forwards and down. Twice more on this side, lifting up. Let's switch side. I like to do these prior to training as well, for those of you that go to the gym, anything that requires upper body, just to get the shoulder open and also listen in, see if there's anything funky going on. It'll give you a pretty good indicator quite quickly. So arms come up, palm turns out, internally rotate, keep squeezing that opposite hand, helping to keep the rest of the body nice and still while you focus on the shoulder. A few more reps on this side. Shake the arms out. We're going to move into some scapular circles. So from tabletop, bring yourself onto your hands and knees. We're going to keep the arms straight and think about making some circles with the shoulder blades around the ribs. Your shoulder blades should be able to glide around the ribs. So let's break it into bits first and then bring it together. The first thing I want you to do is elevate the shoulders up, so hunching up towards the ears. Then we're going to wrap and round the upper back. So that's your shoulder blades moving around the rib cage. Down towards the back pockets next, so you feel them draw down into depression. And then they retract, they squeeze together, keeping the arms straight. Imagine you're trying to hold something between your shoulder blades. So they draw up, they wrap around, they draw down, and they squeeze together. Up, round, down, and back. And then we're trying to just make that a little bit more fluid. Keep the lower ribs locked in, circling the shoulder blades around. Notice if you start to miss one part of that movement. If you need to slow it down and do it in bits, that's fine. Try and go the other way now. Down, they wrap around, they draw up, and they squeeze back. They go down, they wrap, they lift, and squeeze back. So you can keep changing direction. You should get quite a bit of heat into the backs of the shoulders and around the ribs. And release. From here, bring yourself into a seated position or standing, anything that's comfortable. We're going to do some rotations for the shoulder, bringing the arms out to the side. Turn the palms to face up, lock the lower ribs down, and now we're going to turn them forward, so the thumbs, if you say thumbs point up or back, and now we're going to turn the thumbs up, turn the thumbs forward, turn the thumbs down, and see how far around we can go. So we're going to go all the way in, internally rotated, without hunching like this. And now we turn the thumbs back up, turn the thumbs back. So just repeat that. It's like some axial rotation for the shoulders. Okay, we're going to have palms up. One palm is going to face down as we rotate that thumb as far back as we can, and then they're going to switch. So going through internal and external rotation at the same time, alternating side to side. You might get quite tired shoulders doing this one quite quickly. And then from here, palms face down, fingers draw down towards the ground for a bit of a nerve stretch. Breathe in and out of the nose. Okay, release, shake them out a little bit. We're going to sit onto our bum and have the hands, fingertips facing back. Now just look a bit more into shoulder extension, release tension into the chest. So squeeze the shoulder blades back towards each other, open the chest, send your bum further forward, and really grip through the fingers to help protect the elbows. You'll know if it's feeling like you've gone too far because it will feel really uncomfortable into the elbows, therefore just bring the bum back a little bit. Otherwise you can start to go further. Keep the chest open so you don't just collapse like this. Keep opening the chest, feel that stretch into the front of the chest and shoulders. And breathe. You can stay there, otherwise bring your bum back a bit, have the hands shoulder width. We're going to lift up into a reverse tabletop. Extension of the shoulder is an area that can be really restricted, especially for those of you that might train quite hard. It tends to be an area that a lot of people don't work into as much as you need to, but it's going to help with your training, especially those of you doing things like push-ups, dips, or anything like that that requires extension. So we're going to open the chest, tuck the bum under, lift the hips, and really keep opening that chest, lifting the hips up. You might find your bum's down here at the minute and you can't lift it. That's okay. Just move in and out to where you can. You're most likely tight into here, therefore you could just go back to this stretch. So we're lifting up and holding, grip through the fingers, lower ribs down, glutes are on, and then lower down. You can just move in and out. Okay, bring yourself back down, shake the arms out, loosen off. Moving into the spine, we'll begin in a tabletop and work into cat-cows. So hands under the shoulders, knees under the hips. We're going to think about segmenting through the spine. So tuck your bum under first, press up through the lower back, then the mid-back, then the upper back, and tuck your chin at the top. We now reverse it by tilting the pelvis forwards, working into the lower back, the mid-back. And as we come up into the upper back, really open the chest, lift the eyes. Breathing in as you expand and open the chest more. And then exhale, tuck the tailbone, peel your way back up through the spine. So keep moving between those two positions, trying to think about isolating or segmenting your way through the spine as opposed to moving as one unit. So try to move a little bit slower. You can also use a resistance band for this. If you're feeling tension in one particular part of the spine, so either carry on with what you're doing or get hold of a thin band, especially if I've got tension to my lower back, I like to come into a kneeling position, place the band just around the lower back, hands either side of the knees or a bit further forward, and think about tucking and tilting the pelvis forwards and back, feeling that extra tension with the band, helping to give me a bip more feedback. Keep it, hold it, stretch a bit deeper. You can also do this from tabletop. Just, you can move the band into different areas of the spine. Just be careful you don't ping yourself in the back of the head. So again, I can move more into the upper back here and then open the chest. So have a little play around with using that resistance band and trying to work through different segments of the spine, getting the feedback from the band too. Without the band now, we're going to add some circles. So from your cat and cows, we're now thinking about pressing out through the side body. So moving side to side and around. You can lift the eyes and then you can still tuck the chin. So working into the ribs and just finding any other areas that might feel really tight. Changing direction. Just having a general wiggle. Your spine can move in so many different ways. So even then a little bit more lateral flexion, looking back towards one foot, back to the center, looking back towards the other foot and back to the center. So we've gone through some flexion, extension, a bit of rotation, some lateral bending. We're going to do a bit more though. So from our tabletop, we're going to come into more of a kneeling position. If it's more comfortable for you in tabletop, then you can stay there. I'm just going to bring one hand to the ear on that same side. The elbow draws through towards the bottom arm and then opens up and back. We're going to hold it here, take a full inhale through the nose. As you exhale, breathe out of the nose or the mouth and look further back, so rotate further. Take another breath. And exhale. And then bring it down again. We'll go again. Inhale and exhale, twist. Inhale again. And exhale. And if you're doing this from tabletop, it's the same thing from here. Elbow comes down and we open up this way. So go with what position feels better for your knees and your ankles and so on. Go for one more on this side, using that breath. 2 breaths in the hold. Inhale. And exhale. And again, inhale. There's always a bit more space on that exhale. And exhale, twist. And release. Let's go to the other side. So 3 reps. Elbow comes down. Open up. Take a breath in. Really filling up the lungs, and exhale. Inhale again. And exhale. I'm always amazed how much more range you can get on those exhales. So keep focusing on that breath. Again, inhale. Exhale, twist. Inhale. Fill up the lungs as much as you can. Exhale, twist. One more again. Exhale as you rotate. Another big inhale. And exhale. And then release. Have a little bit of a wiggle in general. You might even want to just move the shoulder blades around again. Rock side to side. Make some cat-cow circles. Just loosen off. There's a bit more rotation for the spine. We're going to come up into a standing position. So bring yourself up however's comfortable for you. And we're going to look at some spine roll downs and some extension from standing, which are also going to target the backs of the legs. We will do a bit more into the hamstrings too. So first of all, tuck your chin to your chest, let the shoulders round, and then think about peeling down through the spine. You might not get very far until you feel the backs of the legs. So from there, you would just peel straight back up again. You don't have to go lower than that. If you're more flexible in the backs of the legs, you'll find you can fold deeper. So curl down as far as you can and then curl back up. And when you get to the top of your next rep, bring your hands to the lower back top of your bum. Draw the shoulder blades towards each other. Expand and open the chest. Squeeze your glutes and think about extending the spine, coming into a bit of a back bend. Come up and then peel down again. So keep going, curling down through the spine, curling up and extending. And then release. We're going to come into a wide stance position. And from here, we're going to go into some lateral bends. So one hand comes down the thigh and the other arm reaches up and over. So as one hand slides down, the other arm reaches up. And just feel that length we're creating all the way through the side of the body here. Then come up to the top and switch. Just move side to side at your own pace. And on the next one, it might feel good to come all the way up and then fold all the way over, back to the other side, and then again, reach. Don't worry if you're skipping out the fold all the way around. It might feel enough for you to just go for gentle little bends side to side. Helps to really loosen off tension into the lower back as well. So keep them as gentle as you need. Once more. Bring yourself back up. One more little rotation from here is using a yoga block. So placing it out in front of you between the legs. One hand comes down onto the block, the other arm reaches up, bring it down and switch. And you'll get that inner thigh stretch as well at the same time. You can hold the top position. No need to rush. And you can also bring the block closer to the ground if you're a bit more flexible and you can reach a bit further. Or even no block. And when you're ready, bring yourself back up. We're going to be working into the knees and the hamstrings more next. A resistance band will come in handy for this. You can use like a tea towel, a yoga strap or anything else, or if you haven't got a band, you can just use your hands. So I'll show you that. This is a great one to get into the ankles, knees, and hamstrings. We're going to lie down, so get yourself comfortable on the ground, take your band with you. We're going to straighten one leg out onto the ground, and we're going to hook. So you can come from seated, you can hook the band around the foot first, and then lie down, or you can lie down, hook the band around your foot. Do what feels better for your body to get into it. Knee can bend. Bottom leg is straight, and then all we're going to do is hold either end of the band, and from here we're going to bend the knee and extend the knee. So it might be more out here right now, and that's fine. So just work into flexion at the knee and extension at the knee, just to where you can. This is why a thin band will feel probably a bit more comfortable than if you're using a really thick one. And then I can start to come higher if my hamstrings allow me to. And it's also the strength into the hip, so I'm pulling in through the hip at the front to help lengthen the back. And as I get to the top of each repetition, we're going to actually add in a bit of a rotation at the ankle. So you can either roll the ankle one way, roll it the other way, or even make circles at the top. Then we're going to rebend, extend, and turn the other way. So if I've rolled in at the top of one, I keep that position, bend the knee, extend, and then roll out. Bend the knee, extend, and then roll in. Or maybe do those rotations at the top. It's a great stretch, this one. Helps sort of with getting the nerves to glide, which will help to just release loads of tension to the back of the legs. You can do this prior to training as well, but it also just feels really nice if you're just generally feeling a bit tight, and a bit more accessible for everyone really, to be able to use a band and lie down, as opposed to some of the hamstring drills you see that you struggle to even get your foot into the right place. So just make sure you're using a thin enough a band and working to the range that feels right for you. That might be leg out here for now. That's absolutely fine. So keep changing the foot position at the top, or adding circles, give that ankle a bit of love, feel that through the calves and the hamstrings. So you can continue doing this variation of stretch. Otherwise, what we're going to do is think about resisting the foot away into the band. You'll feel the musculature on the back of the leg engage. Take a breath in. As you exhale, you're going to pull the leg towards you, but as you pull the leg towards you, you're going to think about doing that with the musculature in the front of the hip. So think hip flexors, pull the leg in. Don't worry if it doesn't look like mine. And again, and you can relax a little bit, maybe bend, extend the leg. We're going to resist again, so resist the foot against the band, but pull onto the band for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then don't pull that tension, resist away. You're going to use the front of the hip to pull the leg towards you. Hold that for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then release. Might bend and extend the knee. Again, we'll just have a little bit of a breather before we go again. We'll do one more. Resist the foot into the band, pull the band onto the foot for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then pull in from the hip and hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then release. Maybe just bend it for a moment, shake it out. I'm going to do one last thing. You're going to hold the band. So if it's your right leg up in the air, you're going to hold the band in the left hand. If your left leg is in the air, hold the band in your right hand. The bottom leg, pin the heel to the ground, and we're going to take this leg across the body, but without dropping like this. So the leg goes across the body, and you should start to feel a stretch into the outer thigh and hip. You can let the foot roll as well. Feel that as the leg goes across. You don't want to feel like your lower back just comes off the ground, so press that down. It should feel like a pretty great stretch. Definitely feels pretty intense for me right now. Then let's come back up to the top. Hold the band in the other hand, bring the other arm to the floor, and then open the leg out again, keeping this bottom leg pinned. So notice if you just rock and roll like that, pin your glutes and your heel to the floor as you open this top leg. Feel that stretch through the inner thigh. Bring yourself up. Let's go once more each side, across. Internally rotating that bottom leg so the knee and the toes face up to the ceiling. And then coming up and going across, pinning the heel and the glute, that bottom leg down, and then feel the stretch through the inner thigh. And then bring it up and release. Shake the legs out. We're gonna do the same on the other side. So you might come up, hook the band around the foot again, lie down. Remember the leg might start back here somewhere, knee might be a little bit bent at the moment, that's fine. Bend, extend, and then play around with those angles of the foot at the top. Check in with the ankle a little bit. Do some circles, see how that feels into the lower leg through the calves. Change the angle of the foot at the top. Keep flexing and extending that knee. You can hold it as well at the top. You don't have to keep rushing through flexion extension. Notice you might have one side tighter than the other. This is definitely that side for me, so I wish I'd started on it. Maybe make some circles with the ankle. From here, we're going to do that contract relax, so 3 lots. Press the foot into the band, so resist the leg away. So the leg stays relatively straight. It might be a bit of a micro bend in the knee. Push into the band, pull onto the band for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then engage the front of the hip to pull the leg towards you actively. So I'm really lifting it in. 4, 3, 2, 1, and then you might just rest, bend the knee a little bit in between, and then we'll go again. Resistance for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then use the front of the hip to pull in for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's less of the band pulling the leg in, more of the strength in the hip, and then rest again. And we'll do 1 more of those. Lift up, resist against the band. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then pull in for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and release. And then we'll go through our little stretches side to side as well. So the left leg for me is up in the air, which means I'm going to hold the band with the right hand. If you've got the right leg in the air, hold it with the left hand. And then we're going across the body, keeping the bottom leg, the toes and the knee facing the ceiling. Feel that stretch all the way down the outside into the glute and the hip. And let's come up, switch the grips, other arm out onto the floor, pin the bottom leg and open that leg out to the side. Feel that inner thigh stretch. And again, bringing up, switch the grip, take the leg across. Make sure you're not rocking like this and just flopping into it. You'll be able to feel the difference. Last one going across. And then you can release. Bring yourself in. We're going to move into the hips for some rotation. And for this one, you can have your hands really quite far back. You can lean back. You can even do this one lying down. Feet wide, keeping your lower back onto the ground. Just rotate side to side. So you might start here, then maybe seated, leaning back, and just rotating the hips side to side. Notice as I go across, I'm not going to force the knees to the ground to then see your bum lift up and away from the ground. So try to keep your seat bones on the mat and just rotate to where you can without them lifting up. And you might hold it there. So if I take this hip into internal rotation, this hip into external, and just hold it there, try not to sink into your shoulders, keep your chest open. And then we're just going to stay there and take a full inhale. And as you exhale, seeing if you can find a bit more space, but without that hip lifting up, without your bum lifting off the ground. And then we come up, go across the other side, just go to where you can. And again, using your breath, take a full breath in. And exhale, finding a bit more range. And you can obviously stay there for as long as you like, as many breaths as you like to feel some change, or just move side to side, adding that extra breath each round. You will find with those exhales, you create a bit more space so your nervous system relaxes. You may also notice you've got one hip that feels a lot tighter than the other. It's good to pick up on these things because that will probably start to give you that feedback in other movements that you might be doing where you're feeling tension in the hips or into the back, or something to address if you notice you've got a big difference one side to the other. So we can start to challenge this more by beginning to bring yourself up a bit taller and rotate side to side. So without the use of your hands or with the use of your hands, just rotating. Again, not forcing the knees down if you're then just hips are lifting up off the floor, your bum's lifting up off the floor. Just go to where you can and just move side to side. Can squeeze the fist to generate a bit more tension. It's the next thing to try. If any of these variations are getting a bit too much, just take it back a step. Maybe even the lying down rotations might be what your hips need today. Every day can be different too. You might find one day you feel a lot more flexible than another day. So just listen to your body because it will change depending what else has been going on that week, depending on how much you've been training, how much movement you've been doing, stress levels, sleep, hydration, a lot. Going to add a bit more heat into the hips from this one. You might want the hands back on the ground behind you if they've been up. What we're going to do from here is think about pressing this front leg down into the ground. So I'm going to push this leg into the floor as much as I can. Don't worry if it doesn't actually touch. And then this back leg is going to open out as far as I can. Take a full breath in. As you exhale, open the back leg out even more. There's always a bit more in there. And then another breath in. Exhale, open again. When you physically, you're like shaking and you can't go any further and you're stuck, that's going to be where you rotate now to the opposite side. So again, front leg is going to be pushing down. Back leg is going to open out as far as you can. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, open some more. Working the hips away from each other. Inhale. Exhale. And then rotate all the way around. From here you can do a bit more sort of passive, just rotation side to side. Maybe even add a little bit of a pigeon stretch. If you come all the way up, focus on this front hip. Square the torso towards that front shin. Hinge at the hips, press the leg into the ground. Maybe then lift this back knee, work your way out. Adding that muscle activation in. Hinge to the other side. Press that front leg into the ground as well as you hinge. A bit more like a pigeon stretch. We're going to transition from here into some figure fours. These might feel a bit too intense for now, so if it's too much, you can carry on just with the rotation. What we're going to do is connect the front foot towards the back thigh, so we make this figure four shape. You can use your hands to press and lift your way up, and then we're squeezing your bum at the top. So we've got internal and external rotation that we're working into these hips. Glutes are on, hips are extended too. And now as we come down, you may again need to use your hands to help yourself come down. Transition to the other side and then come up. And if you are more comfortable with these positions and you can do it without the hands, bring them out in front, rotate and come back up. Keep moving side to side. Bring yourself back down. We're going to move into some lunge positions now. So bring yourself back over into more of a tabletop. And all we're going to do from here is start by going into a downward dog, which will be a nice stretch for the back of the body anyway. So hands shoulder width, spread the fingers, hook the toes, lift the hips. Knees can bend. You can pedal through the feet. Great little calf stretch as well. And we're going to take one foot. I'm going to go with my right foot up outside the hands, so both hands are inside the foot, and this can be where a yoga block comes in handy again. Or you could elevate your front foot on top of a chair or anything around the house just to help if ground level feels too much. You can unhook the back toes or keep them hooked. Hands are inside that front foot. Now we're getting a stretch into the back hip flexors, and we're also working deep into this front hip. So that might be where you feel limited, which is why that elevation can just help ease you in. You don't want to be going into a stretch and feeling like it's so unbearable you're struggling to be there. So ease off, make it more bearable and build into it. So just a little bit of time, breathing in and out of the nose, maybe even add some little circles, wiggle about into the hips a little bit. You can also lift the back knee into more of a lizard lunge here, even work the forearms down. Try to keep some length into the spine so you're not just rounded over like this. And we want the forearms roughly in line, or the hands in line with that front foot. So notice if you're reaching out here, bring them back towards that foot. And again, you can work the forearms down. Use your blocks to help you with this over time. Again, back knee can be down too. Using that breath to open up some space again. Over time you may find you don't need to use the blocks anymore and you can bring the forearms down to the ground. But again, base it on how your body's feeling that day. It can be different day to day. We're going to come back up, take that block away, go back into a downward dog. Pedal out through the feet and switch side. The other foot comes up. So first of all, just getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. Maybe on the hands, using the blocks, elevating up a little bit to make that a bit easier. Feel the back hip opening, deep stretch into the front hip. Back knee can lift, wiggle around, find any areas that feel tight. I like to just move about on the mat a little bit and just see what feels like it needs a bit of attention. And then of course you can use the block again, you can work the forearms down, trying to keep that length in the spine, chest open. Imagine your belly button is pulling down towards the mat rather than rounding the upper back and taking the head down. Remember, you can lower the block over time. Just go with what feels right for your body. When you're ready, you can come back up, take the block away, press back into downward dog, wiggle out through the feet, just have a bit of a wiggle around in general, and then let's come back down to the mat. Moving into the ankles, we're going to look at some rotation. You can do this seated on top of a bench or a chair, otherwise seated on the ground. You can also lean against the wall. We're going to interlace the fingers and wrap them around your shin, like so, and then lift that leg off the ground. And all we're going to look at from here is rotating the ankle, nice big rotations. So we're blocking the knee from rotating for the ankle so we can isolate it. And then we're going to just change direction at the top. So I come all the way up. As I'm at the top here, I'm pulling the toes up, like I'm trying to close the gap here between the shin and the top of the foot. So you should feel the muscle in the front of the shin engage. And then as you go down, we're pointing down. You're going to feel under the sole of the foot and through the calves. Come all the way to the top again, and then reverse, go the opposite way. Bigger the circles, the better. You might get some clicks. This is a great movement you can do prior to training as well. If you do have tight ankles, you need to open them up before, say, squatting, then this is a great thing to go to just for, say, 90 seconds per side. You'll get lots of heat in the muscles around the ankle. I'm definitely feeling it burning up now. Okay, we're going to loosen it off from there and then switch to the other side. So bring the other leg out in front, hold onto the shin, lift the leg, big circles. Changing direction at the top, pointing down, feeling the musculature under the foot into the calves, and as you're pulling up, feeling it onto the front of the leg, the top of the foot. Even adding holds and increasing that time under tension in those positions. You can do that over time if there's something new to you. Don't worry too much about that right now, but you do want to be challenging these gradually. So this is far more, there's more intent behind this movement than just doing these sort of easy little circles with the feet. So just make sure that you are moving with intention to activate and engage those muscles around the ankle. You'll know if you're doing it right. So I'm feeling the burn now for sure. Almost done on this side. Okay, you can shake that one out as well. We're going to stretch into the toes. So if you hook your toes and just come into a kneeling position, you can have your hands right out here. So it might feel too intense to bring all of your weight up on here and stretch your toes. So bring your hands further forward, and even if you just go from here with the toes unhooked to the toes hooked and pressing them back a little bit, just getting those toes used to extending. And toe extension is obviously really important, even just for walking. Those of you that train and do things like running as well, notice if you are lacking extension in your toes. Definitely somewhere to work into. So to make this harder, obviously I come all the way up and I go for a nice deep stretch, loading that position. You can just spend some time here. I am also going to let us move through a bit of a sequence to get a bit of relief each side. And all we're going to do from there then is unhook and now sit onto your heels. You might find this position really uncomfortable if you're lacking range in the top of the ankle and through the shins, the knees. You might have trouble feeling this position. Therefore, placing cushions or blankets underneath your bum is going to just help with some relief there. But you could also just bring your hands further forward again if you don't feel like you can sit all the way back. We're now going to hook, sit back, unhook and sit down. So you can move as slow or as quick through either. Just open up both sides. I can even add a bit of a raise here at the top if that's not too much. And then maybe even challenge it by bringing yourself into a squat. So toes are hooked, grip them down, activate those muscles into the feet, come back into your squat. Don't worry if your heels don't touch the floor. They might be up here, that's fine. And then knees down. Can you do it slowly and controlled? Grip the toes, building strength into the feet. Okay, and then from your squat position, so you can do this seated on your bum if the squat is way too uncomfortable for you at the moment. And just now rocking through the ankles side to side, working through rolling them in and rolling them out. We need those ranges there as well. That's also going to help with your general ankle flexibility if you do run into lots of tension into your ankles, rather than just working into the tops and the back of the feet, actually getting them to rotate as well. You can do it standing, it can be up here. Just roll out, roll in, and do it seated down. So let's come all the way up to standing if we haven't already, and then just have a little go at this. You're rolling out, rolling in, even coming up high onto the tiptoes and trying to lift the toes back onto the heels for a second, and then even making that into a bit of a circle. Something you can practice whilst you're brushing your teeth. Final thing we're going to do is just stretch the tops of the toes first too. Don't neglect that, but we're going to do some toe cars. So toe cars, we are thinking about spreading the toes, like you would spread your fingers, spread your toes as much as you can. You might have to literally use your hands to assist with this if this is something new to you. And if standing feels too much, just go seated. This might feel more comfortable. And what I want you to try and do is just see, can you lift your big toes on their own? And then press the big toes down and lift the little toes. And just alternate between the two. And that's going to help just with your general function of your feet and your ankles. But we need to keep and maintain as much strength as possible, especially in our base of support. Makes sense really, right? So I'm going between big toe lifts and little toe lifts. I'm also going to try these little mini toe Mexican waves. So all toes lift up and they spread apart. Baby toes press down, then the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one, and then they work up and out And don't worry if at the moment they're all sort of lifting and lowering together. It might take some practice just to get used to this and just to actually feel the movement pattern. But you can use your hands as well for assistance. So I can press down, or I can pull up through these toes, push the big toe down, release the next one, release the next one, and so on. And then same through here. If I hold underneath these toes, press the baby toe down, then the next one, the next one, the next one. And then I block the tops of the toes, lift the big toe, lift the next one, work the way out. So you can use your hands for assistance as well. But if you are used to having your feet shoved in shoes, like basically everyone, then getting your toes to move can be really, really helpful just in restoring some of that function into your feet, keep them healthy and stronger for longer. And then we can also challenge these over time. You can add longer holds. I might lift and hold for 5 seconds, I might hold it for longer, up to 30 seconds. Anyway, toe cars, great for your feet, obviously. Keep your toes happy, get your feet moving and spreading the toes more rather than having them all squished up in shoes all the time. And that's going to also help with your ankle flexibility. If you want to have another little bit of a stretch out and loosen up. Thank you so much for joining me for that full body mobility flow. I really hope it's helped you and it's something that you can repeat, even if you're just repeating sections of it, or if you've got time to do the whole flow, that's great. Let me know how you found it in the comments. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. So like this video and subscribe to my channel for more videos, and share it with anyone else that you think it might help. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you for the next flow.